Tefnut. Is life possible without moisture? Let's free our imaginations for a moment and stop time. Now imagine, there are no hours, calendars, or seasons. The sky isn't above and the earth isn't below. It's all too uncertain to define. There exists a moment when the universe isn't breathing, but is in a serene state of waiting. The ancient Egyptians referred to this state as none, a vast expanse of darkness, silence, and still waters within infinity. None is neither an ocean nor a mere puddle. It embodies the essence of everything unformed, the very beginning itself. From this ambiguity, the first consciousness emerges, Atum, a self-existing being without a beginning. He is alone, but this solitude is not a deficiency. Atum, in order to ensure the continuity of existence, gives rise to two principles from within himself. One is Shu, representing air, breath, emptiness, and movement. The other is Tefnut, the moisture, humidity, dew, coolness, and the invisible bond that sustains life. The critical point here is that for the ancient Egyptians, air alone could not be the source of life. Dry air poses a life-threatening risk. It destroys existence. Breath only gains meaning when accompanied by moisture. Thus, Tefnut is equally significant alongside Shu in creation myths. In fact, some texts state that Shu's effectiveness relies on Tefnut's existence. Tefnut is not just rain. She is also the cool morning dew. She reflects the coldness that the earth retains during the night. Therefore, Tefnut embodies the tangible, felt aspect of life. She is the essence of vitality. In artistic representations, Tefnut is depicted as a woman with a lion's head. In Egyptian mythology, the lion symbolizes both protection and destruction. It is also associated with the overwhelming power of the sun. This reminds us of an essential truth. Without moisture, heat kills. Yet if there is excessive moisture, floods can drown life. Thus, Tefnut is the figure that represents the balance between these two extremes. From the union of Shu and Tefnut, two new beings emerge. One is Geb, the earth, the other is Nut, the sky. Initially, Nut and Geb are so close that the universe begins to constrict. There is no room for movement, and sustaining life becomes impossible. However, Shu intervenes and raises Nut skyward, separating the heavens from the earth. But this void is never dry. If it were, life would still be impossible. It is Tefnut who provides the moisture, coolness, and continuity of that space. According to the ancient Egyptians, the universe was formed not by a bang, but by a separation and balanced distribution. For this arrangement to be sustained, Tefnut must remain in equilibrium at all times. In some myths, Tefnut realizes that humans have lost their respect for Ma'at, the cosmic order. This leads to significant disorder, and in response to this collapse, Tefnut leaves Egypt. With her departure, the waters of the Nile recede, the winds cease, and the earth begins to crack. This is not revenge, it is simply a natural result. Other Egyptian gods start to hold dances, music, and rituals to bring Tefnut back. Tefnut decides to return not with noise, but with harmony. When she returns, the Nile overflows but does not destroy. It nourishes the land but does not take life away. Here there is an interesting point. The ancient Egyptians did not perceive the floods of the Nile as the wrath of the gods. For them, the issue was the measure of the flood. An excessive flood causes great imbalance, while an insufficient flood leads to further imbalance. The ideal state is the constant presence of Tefnut. In temple reliefs, Tefnut's association with the morning dew is highly meaningful. Dew is silent. Even when seen, it conveys a sense of peace. Dew appears, but no one notices its existence. It plays a vital role in preparing the earth for life. Hence, some priests are said to mention Tefnut's name in morning rituals not aloud, but in whispers. In some texts, Tefnut is also linked to the myths of Ra's eye. In these narratives, Tefnut can emerge as a calming force or a fierce power. Here, moisture signifies not just coolness, but also suppressed power. When overly suppressed, it returns in the form of floods. Even more intriguingly, in late texts, Tefnut is associated with the fluids within the human body: sweat, tears, and breath, vapor. This indicates that Tefnut exists not only in the external world, but also quietly within humans. Deserts and aridity symbolize Tefnut's absence. Dryness, cracking, fierce winds. All these are clues that indicate Tefnut has withdrawn. Therefore, the desert is not merely a geographic area in ancient Egypt. It serves as a cosmic warning. When Tefnut and Ma'at do not collaborate, the message is quite clear. If humanity loses its moral measure, nature will lose this balance as well. Tefnut in the creation texts, Heliopolitan tradition. In the creation texts originating from Heliopolis, preserved in papyrus copies, Tefnut stands out not only as a goddess, but also as a fundamental force that ensures the continuity of creation. In some papyri, a striking expression appears. Shu raises his breath, Tefnut spreads her moisture, and the word becomes permanent for the first time. Here, the phrase, "the word becoming permanent," is of critical importance. In ancient Egypt, a spoken word gained cosmic power only when it was transformed into writing. For writing to remain permanent, however, the papyrus itself had to be protected from drying out and losing its moisture. In this context, although Tefnut was not directly regarded as the goddess of writing, she was seen as a divine force responsible for the preservation of writing. If Tefnut is absent, the papyrus dries. If the papyrus dries, the word dies. If the word dies, order collapses. Tefnut. In the papyri of the Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead consists of texts written on different papyri across various periods. Although Tefnut's name does not frequently appear directly in these texts, her function is always present indirectly. In certain spells and transition formulas, it is possible to encounter expressions such as, "My breath comes from Shu," "My coolness comes from Tefnut," "I do not dissolve," "I do not dry out," "I do not perish." Here, the concept of not drying out is not metaphorical. Ancient Egyptians believed that the soul itself could dry out. If the soul lost its moisture, it would disperse or cease to exist. Therefore, Tefnut was considered a necessary force even in the afterlife. In some Book of the Dead papyri, it is written that the soul must pass through a region referred to as the Field of Coolness before reaching Osiris. This area was indirectly accepted as a realm governed by Tefnut. For the ancient Egyptians, this is certainly not a punishment. It is simply a natural reflection of life. In my personal view, Tefnut is one of the most misunderstood and least known yet most profound goddesses of ancient Egypt. She brings us a message from thousands of years ago. Life persists not through shouting, but through balance, through peace. That which is unseen can be far more vital than what is visible, like moisture, like measure, like balance.